February 21st. So it is our 2024 February community call. Normally it'd be February 28th, but we will be at ETH Denver next week. So you'll see us IRL instead of four squares on a screen. But, anyways, just to kind of give a lay of the land of what we're going to be talking about today, we have lovely person from the graph. So, really exciting integration happening on Linea from the developer side. Bringing on, I mean, you heard the latest and greatest from him yesterday on our Twitter space, but Brandon here from Layer 3 will be giving us more of like kind of a visual understanding of what's going on with Linea Park and all the amazing things that you guys have done. And then we'll end with Declan, our fearless leader, to talk about our 1/3 X point 333x gas reduction price. So go play in Linea Park for fun with little gas. So great. It's actually really funny. This is maybe you guys will find this interesting. I did a call yesterday with what is it? Envia, who's an indexer kind of analysis, and they were doing the top wallet's gas prices. The top wallet has paid over 9 ETH in gas. So had they waited for Alpha V2, it could have been 3. Anyways, that's not relevant. I'm gonna kick off Brandon and Declan so we can go ahead and get started. So thank you so much. Yes. Okay, cool. So the integration happened a few maybe last week or 2 weeks. I don't know. I'm not sure. But Marcus, like before we start, please introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you so much, Emily, for having me on. My name is Marcus. I'm developer relations at Edge and Node, and we're one of the core development teams working on building the graph. So I'm here to share about the graph, educate about the graph, and get Linea building with the graph.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, absolutely. So I guess for the people who are not I guess developers or not familiar with graph, Marcus is obviously going to give us the full layout, but this is momentous. And so I want to give you the opportunity to kind of shill why this is actually really great for our ecosystem. So I guess starting off, like what is the graph?
Sure. So let's go ahead. I'll go through a quick little walkthrough. I like visuals, so visuals help. Let's go ahead and we'll do sharing this screen here. Okay, can everyone see my screen? Okay, we're getting the multiple screens. That's perfect. So let's go ahead and go to a workshop I've given many times. We're just going to go through one small section of it. This is an introduction to the graph. There's also, I'll send video links to the full presentation to really understand how to get building with subgraphs a little bit more, but we're just going to get introduced to the graph. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So really, when we're going into the graph, we want to access the world's blockchain data. Now, Linea can do that. They can dive into Linea blockchain data using subgraphs. And really, why might we want to do that? Well, essentially, this is the data storage of an NFT contract or representation of it. You can see we have an ID, an owner, and metadata URI, and we want to index this, which means organize this data and really have it available for querying. That's what a subgraph can do, and that's what the graph can do in a decentralized fashion. It's able to really understand historical data, so everything that's ever happened in the past with a smart contract on Linea and also over 40 chains, we can really understand who's been interacting with that smart contract, what they've been doing since that smart contract has been deployed all the way up until the present moment, which is really cool. And so we're really able to understand every smart contract essentially going into its history and everything that can be done with that data, such as dashboards, analytics, really providing more value to the entire ecosystem. That's what a subgraph can do. It can really provide that data, and then builders out there can do whatever we want with it. So it's pretty cool. So a few other things about this, about the graph. Blockchain is really write optimized. We could write a lot of information to the blockchain, but when we read it, for the most part, it is not. And there's a lot of read that's going on where we have one piece of data on the blockchain, and getting that data out is really, really tough. And what the graph can do is do that in a decentralized fashion. There's a lot of other protocols out there, a lot of other teams out there that are doing it through centralized indexing. This is the Web 2.5 read solution. How do we index that data? With the graph, it is done with decentralized indexing, where there's indexers around the world that are available and ready to index this data for us and make sure that that data is resilient, make sure that pipeline really stands the test of time, as opposed to going through a centralized indexing solution. So really, that's the TLDR of the graph. The TLDR is the graph is the entire protocol, and a subgraph is what you and I can build as developers to give these indexers around the world instructions on the exact data that we want and have it be custom to our liking. And then we could build some pretty cool stuff with it. So that is the TLDR of that.
That's really great. I do wanna kind of ask maybe one question that I always like
Sure.
to really ask. What does the world look like without the graph?
Well, it gets more towards a Web 2 type of world, I would say, where let me stop sharing my screen here. Where, okay, we have the blockchain, which is incredible. Being able to write to that blockchain is incredible, but how much use is that data if we can't read from it in a decentralized fashion as well? Well, we could read from it from a centralized fashion. That's fine, but we're running into the exact same problem that we're trying to get away from. And so the graph is a production ready solution today that allows teams such as, we can go through right now. I'll actually share my screen again. I want to show the top teams that are using the graph. And the cool thing is every one of these subgraphs, let's see, is my screen displaying again? Yes, it is, the infinite screen. We can go to Subgraph Explorer and see these are subgraphs deployed on the Graph Network. If we go to the Subgraph Explorer or the Graph Explorer, these are all subgraphs that are decentralized. They've been published to the Graph Network with over 200 indexers, I think 250 right now around the world. We have Uniswap, Premia, we have Lido, we have Compound, Aave, BetSwirl, DHedge, Snapshot. These are the teams, LivePeer, that are using subgraphs in a decentralized fashion, ENS, to provide data to the world. And so every one of these subgraphs are permissionless. Anyone can access them. Anyone can actually go ahead and query these subgraphs and go ahead and send queries through the playground. There's indexers. We can go see all the different indexers that are indexing. Right now, there's 25 indexers around the world indexing this Premia Blue subgraph. And anyone can actually build on this data. It's available as a public good, and it's fully production ready. So it's ready for builders out there. It's pretty cool stuff.
Fantastic. So I guess to kind of reframe, help understand why graph is important, right? Like a a lot of dApps right now use graph, right? Could you kind of throw out a few names to help people understand like what kind of
I mean, went through them right there. So I mean, you have I know Curve, Compound, Premia. I mean, a lot of these different DeFi protocols, a lot of these big ones use it. Uniswap uses it. Uniswap is one of our biggest participants in the graph. So some pretty big DeFi teams are using the graph every single day,
right?
24/7. Yeah.
Yeah, so for users, I think the important thing to know, right, is like Linea allows whatever project to be built on it because we're EVM equivalent. But the
Yes.
blockers are, dev tooling and infrastructure like the graph that is maybe blocking existing dApps from porting over because they can't use it anymore, right?
Exactly. Yep. If there's any teams out there that want to build on Linea and want to have their data index, the graph can now do that. So it's one of the supported networks, both on the Linea testnet as well as the Linea mainnet. So feel free, hop in, get building, get using the tooling, and I'll also put some links out there to be shared in terms of getting started. There's a few workshops I've given that are just really quick starts on just querying existing subgraphs already. So let's say some developers are building on Linea and they send something out to the graph network and they have an endpoint that's available for anybody. I could show you how to really understand the protocol with that workshop and how to query that subgraph and then also build a custom subgraph from the ground up. So both of those I'll be sharing with links and just really get building with Linea.
Yeah, awesome. Send the links in the private chat and I'll
I
blast it
will.
out to everyone. Um, but I guess kind of teeing up the next question, I mentioned at the beginning, we are supporting ETH Denver. So I do want to leverage your expertise in the field if you could inspire people or give some use cases or possibilities of what they could build with the graph.
Yeah, I'd be happy to be of help. I'll be at ETH Denver as well if anyone has questions about subgraphs and getting building. What we see a lot with subgraphs being built, dashboards. Let's say you want your participants in whatever you're building with your DApp to understand what's going on with your DApp, well, go ahead and build a beautiful dashboard and have all that data right there. Another good one is to understand analytics. There are a few different libraries that can plug into the graph and subgraphs. One of those is a Python library. So let's say you want to do ML or you want to do any type of data analytics using Python, that plugs right into subgraphs. Being able to query multiple subgraphs at the same time. Let's say you want to query one protocol, a different protocol, and multi-chain. That's also possible with multiple subgraphs. It becomes basically think blockchain, and you can go ahead and cut and slice that data however you'd like. Primarily, we see like dashboards, analytics, and just when you have more valuable data that's been processed in a very thoughtful way, the only benefit is going to be the DApp participants and the DApp users. That's really, really key. So I'll be happy to help out with any of those.
Cool. Yes, I will wait patiently for the links in our private chat.
Yeah, let's get those links in here. Let's share. This is the docs quick start on developing a subgraph. And then I'll also share the link to the quick start to subgraph development and querying. That's really getting started with building custom subgraphs from the ground up. And right now, it takes literally a few minutes to get a subgraph deployed ASAP. And the best thing that any subgraph developer can do is make sure their smart contract, if they are controlling that smart contract, emits quality events. That's the big, big thing that I want to get through to all subgraph developers in training right now, in starting out their journey. If the smart contract emits great events, everything is really, really much easier with a subgraph. If not, that's okay. There's ways around that. Nothing wrong with that. But events are great. Let's see. This is another video on querying a subgraph and really understanding how to query that subgraph. And then the last one here is how to deploy a subgraph. Really just 0 to 1, how to get going with the subgraph and things to consider.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So there's a bunch of, I guess, what do you call it? Resources. They'll also all be linked in the docs as well, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
And if you want to reach out to me on Twitter, feel free. I'm more than happy to assist with any debugs, any issues, anytime anyone wants to just have a question. Go ahead and ping me on Twitter, and I'm more than happy to help out.
Cool. So I guess this is the end. I will let you. This is your opportunity to give any closing thoughts, announcements, or anything important you want to mention.
I mean, right now, with the specific to Linea, I mean, we have a few new features that are out and production ready. We have file data sources, so we can index not only just Linea, but also off-chain data from Arweave and IPFS, which is pretty cool. Really use case central for NFTs. Dive into file data sources. I just released a blog on that. And then also for use cases that are more let's just leave it with that. I gave a lot of information. I think.
Yeah.
I
No,
think
no
that's enough
worries.
right there. Off-chain data, on-chain data, Linea, subgraphs. Just I'll keep on saying words until my time is up.
Okay, well, your time is up.
Awesome.
So thank you so much for joining. Again, docs, and then also contact Marcus on Twitter. But yeah, really exciting stuff. The graph is a great addition to the Linea family. So thank
Awesome.
you so much. Okay, Brandon, it is your turn. I'm going to bring you up. Uh, how does this work? Okay, cool. So this is actually really exciting stuff. Linea Park was released yesterday. I know yesterday we also hopped on kind of a Twitter space before it was actually open. So this is kind of the after it's now open. I checked out like the welcome screen, which was super fun. But I'll kind of I'm just talking. I'm stealing your thunder. So we'll just start off with like who even are you for people who don't know?
Sure. No, thank you guys for having me. Yeah, so I'm Brandon. I'm one of the co-founders of Layer 3. We started the business in late 2021. And if you're not familiar with what we do, we are sort of an interactive quest platform. So we help layer ones, layer twos, dApps, wallets reach, acquire, retain, and engage users on chain at scale. And you can think about our product like any sort of traditional consumer marketplace. You have a B2B side of it, which is the layer three Linea side, and you have the B2C side, which is more on the consumer. And what we do is we'll create these experiences, which are called quests. It's sort of a primitive that's very popular in the industry. And we'll package different actions. So it could be make a swap, play a game, and we'll package that into this sort of gamified immersive experience for consumers to learn how to use these products. And then on the other side, what we're saying to Alinea is that we're helping power really large, expansive campaigns across your ecosystem, and we're going to work with a bunch of the builders that are building in your ecosystem. And that's all wrapped in gamification. So we took a lot of inspiration from traditional Web 2 learning products, like a Duolingo, for example, where you're learning a language, but you're doing it in a social way, and there's sort of a fun gamified element to it. And so as you complete quests on layer three, you earn XP. As you earn that XP, you climb a leaderboard, you earn achievements. As you collect our native credential, which is called a cube, you earn these things called gems, which allow you to progress on what we call our trophy road. You can spend those gems in the shop. So we're trying to make it an experience where everything that's happening in the industry, whether it's DeFi or gaming or NFTs, you can experience it through layer three. And if you're new to the industry, you can learn how to use these products. If you're a veteran, you can find more complex products that you might want to explore. And you can filter all of that natively on layer three. So that's a little bit about who we are and who I am.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I mean, I think that covers what is layer three and how does it work. But that's a lot of words. We'll dive into a demo later. But
Okay.
I think I had some interesting question specifically for you, right? I think when it comes to layer three, I know on my end when it was first introduced, I was like, "Oh, is this a layer on top of like why layer three?" Right? Because it is a kind of an overloaded term.
It is an overloaded term. So when we started layer three in late 2021, you had your core layer ones. You had Solana, Ethereum, and you had an emergent kind of layer two ecosystem. And so we kind of thought it was a pun, like, at the end of the day, you have the human layer, which is obviously the most important. And so we wanted to call it layer three, which was creating this kind of consumer community like experience on top of all of this scaling. And, over the years, we've considered whether or not the name is approachable to people maybe outside of the industry. But I think that it has like a very good brand, and it still strikes a specific chord with folks, which is like it's sort of the fun part of crypto. And even though there are now like actual layer three chains, we love the branding around layer three.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. I think layer three is a really great name, and I love that it is centered around connecting the human layer. I mean, because ultimately, right, dApps don't care about Linea; they care about people using them, right? So, uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I think the goal, right, is like nowadays your audience is builders, and everything that you guys do is to try and market to them, and then the consumers will come if great things are built. But I hope 5 years from now we're not thinking about it as though, oh, well, this is built on linear, or this is built on optimism. We kind of have this unified layer, and the best tech is obviously there. And obviously, I think Linea is doing a great job. Um, and the consumer just doesn't know. It's all abstracted away.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But they learn about the dApps through layer three. Um,
Exactly.
I do wanna say layer 3 has been amazing for, I think, Linea Park. You guys have executed really well. Kinda wanna get your opinion on what about layer 3 makes it particularly suited for gaming?
Yeah. So I spoke about this yesterday on the spaces. So if you guys were there, you may hear me sort of repeating some of the same themes. But I think gaming is probably the most important vertical over the next 3 to 5 years in this industry, for a bunch of reasons. But if you take a step back and you think like a lot of us kind of came into the industry maybe in the last cycle or the past two cycles, the last cycle was primarily DeFi driven. TVL and sort of finding yield on chain was what got people excited. And the types of users that came into that market were people who typically had some type of financial background or gambling background, like they're interested in commodities and currencies and equities and derivatives. Um, and the design patterns you saw were very, numbers driven, very columns, rows, and so forth. I think this cycle, what you're starting to see is a younger crowd, a much more internet native crowd, and a much more gaming native crowd. And gamers are like adjacent to crypto in many ways. They spend time in the same places. Like they love spending time in communities and discords. and also design patterns are very similar, right? Like the screen tends to have more colors, it tends to be more playful, it tends to bring you into the experience a little bit more than your traditional like DeFi product. And we've always kind of built with that in mind, which is to build a product that the design itself is playful and it's fun, it's whimsical, it's something that kind of keeps you engaged with it. And then the downstream implication is that hopefully they love exploring the products that we showcase. And so we had always done a very good job with that, and I can kind of show you guys some stuff right after this in a demo. But with Linea Park, we wanted to take it another level, and alongside the your colleagues, the great team at Linea, we designed a whole new UI called Linea Park, which is this theme park like experience where every week you get to kind of progress through that theme park. And every week there's different underlying games or themes that users get to explore. And hopefully it makes you kind of feel like you're the appropriate analogy is a digital theme park to explore 30 different games that are built on chain. And we just want to keep doubling down there. So this is the start, I think, of us really working with a lot of game builders, and we hope to do more of it over the next few months.
Yeah, awesome. So I think this is the part where we actually show off what you guys did. Also, specifically call out the correct URL. Do not get scammed. um,
Yes.
but
Okay. All
yeah,
right. So let's see. Do you guys have this?
cool. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so if you go to layer3.xyz/quest, you'll see the main explore page, which again, just calling out like the design patterns, you should get a sense for what I was talking about earlier. You kind of have your progress on the platform. You have the next gem that you're going to earn. You have the rewards that you can claim. You have this reward shop that you can go and like spend your gems, and we have like boosts. So it's all very gamified. And then you have Linea Park. And so Linea Park is this really great UI, which I mentioned. It's sort of this theme park like experience. So we've got about 30 games spread throughout this multi-week campaign. And as you go through the welcome zone, week one is RPG and MMO, and then we transition to action and strategy. And then as you go down, you have social world. And then we also have this referral zone and this VIP zone, which are tied to legacy actions that users have taken on Linea campaigns. And so what I would recommend is, come to layer3.xyz/Linea Park, and you can go through the welcome zone. It's mostly just information about what the park is, what the kind of gaming and social aspects of this are. And you can click into each of these quests. So if I were to click into Linea Park, you'll go to the Linea Park quest and you can learn a little bit more about what this is. And then after you finish the actual welcome zone, you can then complete your first quest. A few more things that I'll show you guys. So if you go to our rewards page, this is like our trophy road. So as you complete quests on layer 3, you're earning XP and gems, and you can kind of claim those and strategically use those throughout the product to get multipliers as you explore different products on chain. And then the final element is kind of this leaderboard, right? So as you earn experience points on the platform, you climb the ranks of our leaderboard. You can see this is kind of our all-time leaderboard. So the top spot, this person has used the product 140 days in a row. They have 422,000 XP, and you can kind of work your way down from there. Now, I should note one final thing here, that we're talking about two different point systems. So layer 3 has a native point system. It's just called layer 3 XP. Then you have the Linea XP, which is on chain, and you'll see that up here. This is sort of a new account, so there's 0 Linea XP being shown here. But at the end of the campaign, you'll get that Linea XP issued to you on chain. So hopefully that gives a good overview of the product and how you can go about exploring it.
Yeah, no, definitely. When I started the welcome yesterday, and like the chimes you guys use are like so, I don't know, like a massage for the brain. I don't know like what designer or product person decided to choose like this this
It's my
asset, but
co-founder. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, it's funny. It's funny behind the scenes, right? Because we went through 10 different iterations of that sound. Um, and then by the end of the day, you're not sure which sound you liked more. So it's good to hear that you enjoy it.
Yes, that it was fantastic. Cool. So I think what did I want to ask? Oh, yes. I guess last piece, if gamers or even like I guess dApp builders, other people are interested in reaching out or learning more, what's the best way to get connected?
Yeah, so if you're exploring Linea Park and you have any issues, we have a separate section of our Discord set up for that. So it's just I think it's hashtag Linea/Park in Layer Three's Discord. So that's the probably the best place if you are a user. If you are a game builder, feel free to shoot me a DM directly on Twitter or Telegram. We also have an intake form, just like layer3 /growth, and you can fill that out if you're interested in onboarding with layer 3. And I'll drop those in the chat as well.
Okay, very cool. Um, no, I'm super excited for everything here. I guess additionally, if people have questions, the Linea Discord is definitely always there. Our community team is around. I think they created an FAQ for everyone, so that's kind of where you'll go for the latest information, as well as our blog, linea.mirror.xyz. Oh, and we'll do weekly Twitter Spaces as usual to show up all the games that are leveraging Layer 3 and things like that.
Yeah, I have to join a lot of these spaces, but you guys definitely run the best spaces. So shout
Thank
out to
you.
you for being a great host.
No, that's too nice. It's the easiest thing to do. I just sit here and listen to people. Um, cool. I guess I do wanna give this time for you to give any closing thoughts, announcements, whatever
No,
you
I mean, look, like I said earlier, I think gaming is a really important vertical. And I do want to give a shout out to you guys, the Linea team. I think that there are a lot of layer two ecosystems that are probably going to get caught in the back foot over these next few years, having courted DeFi developers over game developers. And I think you've built a home for being a great place for game developers to build. So shout out to you. And then as it relates to layer three, yeah, I mean, please do join our Discord, explore Linea Park. We also have a channel on Farcaster, which is a great place to share thoughts, share your favorite quests. So feel free to join that as well.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, but
Awesome.
now that you
Thank you.
mentioned Farcaster, I'm just gonna create a little plug of my own. Please join /frog, Frogcaster. I hope one of the games has a frog in it. I'm just gonna selfishly
I'll
take this
join
time.
now. I'll
Thank
join
you so
now.
much. Okay, cool.
All right.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining. And then Declan, I will bring you up. Cool, cool. So if you guys haven't heard, Alpha V2 was what was it last week?
Last week, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, taking the world by storm, making games cheaper, making gaming cheaper. I hope everybody is happy, but we'll always continue to make you happier, I guess, because Denkun's coming up and things will peter down. But yeah, Declan, I guess you're just here to like talk about how great it was and give us some stats and what it was and details, etc. Um,
Yeah. I mean, Alpha V2 is like a huge upgrade. I think I said last time I was on the community call, this upgrade was as big a like engineering feat as actually launching Linea mainnet last year. So the fact that it went so smooth was like, a really big achievement for the engineering team. But yeah, the sort of goal of Alpha V2 was to bring down the costs. So Linea is a ZK EVM rollup. We post data to Ethereum and verify ZK proofs on Ethereum. That costs a lot of money. So we wanted to bring down those costs and bring lower prices to Linea. So what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about what actually happened. And I have a nice visual to kind of share with folks. Let's see if this works. Okay, nice. So we've got two. So basically on the top here, we have Alpha V1. Okay, and I'm going to kind of zoom in. Basically with Alpha V1, what was happening with Linea is we were taking some Linea transactions, we were putting them into like a data submission, like a batch. We were sending that to Ethereum, and then we were verifying the ZK snark proof, and that cost roughly 450,000 gas. So we're putting like 150 Linea transactions in a single submission and verifying a proof of a single submission. Okay, so we sort of have continuous amount of batch submissions for proof. And so what we're doing previously with Alpha V1 is we're kind of only filling up half the batch, only getting a future batch, and it's costing quite a lot of money to basically inherit the Ethereum security. With Alpha V2, you can see we've made a lot of changes. So we've gone from this to this. And basically, there's two things that are happening here. One is called proof aggregation, and the second is data compression. Okay, so for the data compression part, what we've essentially done is you can see here this blue box, which is the data submission. and in the future will be a blob submission. Basically, we've made the batch bigger that we're using. So we've gone from using 75 kilobytes to 125 kilobytes. And then we're fitting in more transactions into a single blob or single batch due to the fact that we're compressing them down. And I think a good way to think about how it sounds essentially, let's say you want to take a photo and that photo is 10 megabytes. You try to send it over email to someone and it says, oh, the file is too big. You need to make it smaller. You maybe put it into a compressor and it comes out like a tenth the size and you can send it. That's basically what we're doing with transactions now on Linea when we're sending them from Linea to Ethereum. Okay, so we managed to get them much smaller, up to 15 times smaller for some transactions, like a Uniswap swap transaction, which is really great. So basically now what we're doing is we're filling in way more Linea transactions, approximately 15 per batch. So we've gone from 150 to 1500, which is 10 times more transactions in a batch. And then not only that, but we're able to fit more of these batches into a single. So again, like previously, it was one proof per batch. That was very expensive. Now we're able to fit up to 30 batches into a single proof. So one batch per proof to 30 batches per proof. And each of these batches has more transactions in it than they did previously. So this is a huge result. To kind of summarize a little bit here, we've gone from having roughly 150 Linea transactions without compression per batch per proof to 45,000 Linea transactions per final proof. So that's like a 300x increase in the sort of optimization of what we're actually finalizing now for Linea. So yeah, Alpha V2 was a huge change. But that kind of summarizes why now the L1 gas costs have come down so much. And the sort of top level number you can think of is that compared to Alpha V1, Alpha V2 is roughly 4 times cheaper for L1 costs. Okay, and sort of using like L4 and proto-dank sharding coming up, and so taking the initial specs of proto-dank sharding, which is like 0.375 megabytes. We're roughly doing like 90, 100 bytes per transaction. So that's a TPS maximum of like 415 transactions per second. Maximum we could do on Linea with 4844. So yeah, that also increases the sort of capacity before we hit any congestion. I mean, we'll have to wait and see, but that's the sort of theoretical max. So just want to quickly zoom in here. So in terms of the overall cost now of Alpha V2, you can see here, the layer 1 verification cost, which is the part to verify the zero knowledge proof. That's now down at around 0.5%, which is tiny. So when you're comparing ZK EVM technology like Linea specifically versus like other technology like optimistic rollup, it's only 0.5% now that you have to pay for that, verifying the actual proof. And then the rest is, of course, just all of the call data and the data submission cost at 99.5%. So that's kind of how the costs look now today. Because of this reduction in cost, we reduced prices on Linea. I think from day one, they're down 66% than they were previously, which is a 3x decrease in prices as a sort of flat rule. It will go down even further because we're rolling out this new API, Estimate Gas API, this week, which basically, if a transaction on Linea is using less call data versus execution, then you'll pay even less. So that's something that introduces a new pricing mechanism. It's going to get even cheaper. And then, of course, we have 4844 coming up in next month. So March 13th, Ethereum has a hard fork to enable 4844. Linea will be using it very shortly after. And then we don't know exactly, but we kind of expect that the data submission cost piece will come down by a further 90%. But it's a new market, so I don't want to promise too much. We'll have to wait and see, but that's kind of what we might expect to happen. So again, bringing down costs even further. Yeah, and that's Alpha V2. I would say this is probably the biggest upgrade ever in the history of rollups, and definitely the most significant in terms of costs. And the fact that it went so smoothly is, the team's really happy about that. But yeah, we're not counting on it too much, and we're already sort of getting ready for 4844. So, lots more work to do.
It's amazing. I feel like we should have used the layer 3 like completion chime after it was released. Welcome to Linea Park. Cool. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
Not really. I think just it was great listening to Brendan talk about Linea Park. Definitely, myself as well, I'm excited to check out all the different gaming and social applications. The gas fees are now cheaper as well, which makes everything just a bit more fun, not having to worry about costs. So yeah, definitely recommend everyone to sort of explore the Linea Park. I was a bit sort of skeptical about the theme of like a amusement park at first, but like seeing the execution from the layer 3 team, like it looks amazing. So yeah, really excited to get into that. And of course, like as I always say on these calls, if people have feedback for the team, then just let us know on Twitter or wherever you kind of reside, Discord, Telegram, because we're always looking for feedback and ways to improve the protocol.
Okay, cool.
And that's it.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna kick you off and then bring on Clarissa. So this is actually really exciting. If you saw Declan's presentation, the data part is going to shrink incredibly, and that's because of Dencun. And I want to give this floor to Clarissa because Consensus itself is doing some really interesting things around the Dencun upgrade.
Yeah, hey, that came like super hard and fast. I was just chilling in the waiting room, and now here I am. So yeah, GX to the Linea community. This is my favorite crew of Web3 builders. So my name is Clarissa Watson. I'm the editorial lead here at Consensus, and I get to cover all the major news and announcements across our product portfolio, publications, Linea being one of them. Also, fun fact, I used to work at the Graph, so shout out to the entire Edge and Node team. Such an important protocol for Web3, the Google of blockchain, as we say. And another fun fact, I've known Emily for over like 2 years now. I met her when she was dev-relling for Truffle, a project that we will always hold dear to our hearts. And now you're just like slaying it on Linea. So Emily always has the coolest bangs and crop tops. So.
I've been outed. I only wear half shirts. Oh no.
They're real shirts. Anyway, okay, so I'm here to talk about the Dencun upgrade, also referred to as Cancun Deneb, Proto Deng sharding, or simply EIP 4844. You can take your pick. So I am not an author, nor am I a core dev, but as part of my role as editorial lead, I had the pleasure of interviewing some of the researchers and developers from the Ethereum Foundation, OP Labs, and Linea. I spoke to Declan that you all just saw, working on the upgrade to produce a 9-part multimedia series to help educate the community on really the mechanisms and the implications of this upgrade. So we will be releasing that series next Monday, or this coming Monday, which is February 26th. So definitely keep an eye out for that. And the actual fork on mainnet will happen on March 13th. So today I thought I could give you just like a brief rundown of what the upgrade entails and maybe a sneak peek into the series. If there's like time for that, I could play.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so then, first up, the name. Why the name? I feel like we get a lot of heat for the names that we have in the Ethereum space for our forks and EIPs themselves. But anyway, so why Deneb Cancun? So the hybrid name actually represents the two sides of the chain post-merge, the execution and the consensus layer. So Deneb is actually the name of a star, and it represents the consensus layer. And Cancun, which is a location in Mexico, represents the execution layer. So together, they are Dencun. So the forks have to happen separately, and then they come together. All of this work is being tested right now in all of the major test nets. Sounds like things are going well, hence why we now have a date for the hard fork. And so there are 9 EIPs Ethereum improvement proposals, part of this upgrade. And really the headlining EIP is 4844 that makes Ethereum more attractive for rollups. So EIP 4844, also called proto-danksharding, it introduces a new type of data availability designed specifically for rollups like Linea, called blobs or blob data. And so this type of data is much cheaper than the existing data availability method for L2s, which is call data. So with the Alpha 2 updates that Declan just shared, and the decrease that we're witnessing on Linea and gas fees, EIP 4844 will lower these prices even further, which is really exciting because it means that developers can build new use cases that were priced out previously, right? So more high transaction volume applications like gaming and social that really weren't as possible can now happen because of 4844, and of course all the great work that the Linea team is doing. So Dencun really it also lays the foundation for full sharding and data availability sampling. So this fork really provides the cryptographic updates that Ethereum needs to be able to continue to more sophisticated forms of scalability. So with proto-danksharding in effect, a block can carry a minimum of, I think, 3 blobs per block, max of 6. And a block can carry about 32 bytes of data. And then with full sharding, that will increase to up to 16 blobs per block. So we're kind of moving from this block space world to a blob space world. And this is all part of Vitalik's roll-up centric roadmap for Ethereum, right? I think like a lot of people have heard that, the best way to scale a blockchain is a modular approach. So we've seen a lot of L2s emerge over the past year, and this EIP is really built for them to have their own data so that they can continue to scale the network. And yeah, so we've prepared this really great video series. It's a 9-part video series. It breaks down all of the kind of important features of the upgrade. Maybe we can do a little sneak peek of a video.
Yeah, awesome. I love visuals. I
Cool.
love
So-
also the rename to Blob Space. That's cute.
Yeah, blobs are cute. Okay, so I think I should be able to share my screen. Let me just pull up a video. Let's see here. Share screen. Final video. All right, so you've seen it here. You're going to see it here first. Can you see my screen?
I can see it. Yes.
Awesome. Okay.
I guess it's buffering right now.
Yeah, it is. Oh, and now I've lost where'd it go?
My name is Tim Bako.
I'm Dankrat Feist.
My name is Ansgar Dietrichs. On Ethereum, we always have these regular upgrades, hard forks, once or twice a year. And the next one we're planning, funny enough, it's called Deneb/Cancun, now often called Dencun, because we have 2 chains in one now after the merge, the kind of CL side, the EL side, and they have separate names for their forks. So now basically we always have these interesting fork names. But so basically it's just, a regular upgrade and brings the latest features that are basically ready to Ethereum. And really kind of the headlining feature, I would say, is EIP 4844, where we try to basically make Ethereum more attractive for rollups.
The main part of the Dencun upgrade is going to be EIP 4844, which has also been named proto-danksharding, which is an upgrade that introduces blob space to Ethereum. This is a pure data availability space where rollups can post their data that they need in order to gain their security. And what it does is it separates economically this data from the transactions on the Ethereum L1 so that they don't have to compete with all the execution that's already happening anymore. So this will hopefully make rollups much cheaper in the short term, but in addition gives us all the cryptographic updates that are needed in order to, in the future, scale data availability and add data availability sampling, which will be one of the major upgrades that make Ethereum scalable.
On Ethereum today, there's a very limited amount of transactions that can take place within a block. So when a lot of people want to make transactions all at the same time, the price to make a transaction goes up, and this prices out a ton of use cases. So if you want to buy something that costs $100 on Ethereum, but the transaction fees are $50, obviously that's not economical. So over the past couple of years, we've seen the rise of these layer 2 solutions, which are effectively different places where transactions can happen that are anchored back to Ethereum and inherit the security of Ethereum. So this is a way where we can move more and more of the transaction activity off the main Ethereum network, which sort of decongests it and then offer lower cost to users. The biggest thing that these layer 2 need is somewhere to store data. So the reason why they're secure is because they take all the data from their transactions, they compress it, and they put a proof of that on Ethereum layer 1. So we always know on the main Ethereum chain, what happened on those layer 2s. So the Dencun upgrades is effectively adding a new type of data on Ethereum layer 1, which is transient. So right now, when you put something on Ethereum, it stays there forever. But these layer 2s only need the data to be there for a couple weeks for the time, that they would take for someone to verify that everything was fine. After that, they don't actually need it to be on Ethereum layer 1. So today, all these layer 2s pay for data, but they pay for like an infinite duration storage. And after the Dencun upgrade, they'll pay for, about a couple weeks of storage. And because that's much cheaper, then they can pass on all those cost savings to their users and just onboard a lot of new people and use cases where high transaction fees just don't work for them.
Wow, that was so cool. That
We
editing
could-
was so good.
We could maybe watch one more if you want. I don't know if I'm at time.
We have more time if you want. Yeah. I mean, I'm
One-
definitely enraptured.
Yeah, it's super technical, but at the end of the day, what makes Ethereum cheaper and more scalable is really how we scale. So it's exciting. Now I've lost my bearings here for a second. Okay, why don't we watch one more? We can watch one that we made specifically for Linea with Declan. Let me pull that up and share my screen again. Can you see it? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Sorry. Cool.
EIP 4844, also known as Proto Danksharding, is a new upgrade. It's going to come in the Dencun upgrade on Ethereum. And the purpose behind 4844 is essentially to lower the operation costs for rollups. So how rollups work today is they execute transactions on a separate layer to Ethereum. They roll up these transactions into a batch, and then they submit this batch to the layer 1. And then when you submit that batch to the layer 1 to Ethereum, you have to pay costs. You have to pay Ether and gas to verify that batch. And today that is still quite expensive because Ethereum was not built to be a layer that could verify these transactions and store data to help with that process. And so what 4844 is doing is it's creating this specific sidecar for what we're going to be calling blobs. So moving the sort of a block space world to a blob space world. And these blobs have their own fee market. They're much cheaper than using call data, which we are currently using rollups. And the ultimate implication of that is that the overheads for rollups is going to be dropping by an order of magnitude. Now, what that means for users is that rollups can start to pass on those cost savings to the L2, to the layer 2. And so we're going to see prices drop significantly, transaction costs are going to plummet, and this is going to enable developers to build new consumer applications, new use cases, things that were not conceivable on layer 1 because the gas fees were too high. And so 4844 is really this sort of first step into unlocking a whole new wave of potential utility for crypto and for Ethereum.
That's so cool. I always love seeing Declan's face. But these are really well produced. Clarissa, you've been working on this for a very long time, right?
Yeah, we actually did all the filming in Istanbul in DevConnect. And there's 9 in total. So we're going to break down, what blobs are, how data availability is changing, specifically focusing on as well, why the gas fees will drop. I think a lot of people want to know how much. Obviously, it's a free market. Like we don't really know, but so all that will drop on Monday. So check it out. And I think it's really exciting because Dencun really lays the foundation for more significant scaling and more mainstream adoption. That's kind of why we're all here, right? To like show the world that there's a new way to build software on Ethereum. It'll be great to finally give this all to the world after months of kind of like editing and filming and stuff. So
it's super I feel like it's very accessible. It's a bit of a technical topic, but I think you guys did a really good job of making it such in a way that you don't have to be like a CS major to understand it. So really exciting. You said Monday, so that's February 26th.
26th. Yeah, we will drop the whole series on the Consensus YouTube on that day, and it'll be shared across Consensus Linea, some of our other channels, and we'll also be on the ground in ETH Denver, talking to people. So yeah.
Okay, cool. And Dencun upgrade's happening March 13th, right?
March 13th, yes. And I think I guess you'll provide an update to the Linea community as to when blobs will be on Linea. But
yeah. Okay, so I guess call to action. Keep an eye out for March 13th. That's when it'll be available for Ethereum. And then Linea team will work on leveraging all the power that I'll give. But yes, thank you so much, Clarissa, for giving us a sneak peek. That is, oh my God, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like the only call to action that I can say to the community is just be aware that it's coming, and think about what you can build and what you can do now that transaction fees are going to be a lot cheaper.
I guess if it's gonna be dropped, where would be the best place to like find it once it's released, right?
Oh, YouTube, the Consensus YouTube. I can share a link to that. But that's where we'll publish them. YouTube.com/consensus.
Okay, very good. Yeah, and I'm sure it'll be like on Twitter and then retweeted across all of our accounts. So
yeah, totally.
Okay, well, I guess that's our time, Clarissa. Thank you so much for giving us a little bit more clarity into everything that's going on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome. So I will kick you off and then close with a few words. I guess reminder, Linea will be at ETH Denver. I think Clarissa, Declan, all of us will be there as well. So super excited to see all the things that we can learn, as well as quite a few talks from like Linea teams. If you're interested about what's happening with Linea, the future of scalability or 2024 roadmap, other stuff like that's the place to be. I mean, and if you're not going to be there, obviously, because not everyone is able to travel to Denver, we are still holding our Dencun Voyage waypoints. What's it called? The one for Lagos is this Saturday, actually. We just released the link, I think sometime this week. So again, signups are first come, first serve, focusing more on a builder audience. But again, I think everyone wants to learn. Right. And so keep an eye out on Twitter, and I guess our mailing list and all those other places to find out more information on where you can attend. So yeah, thank you so much. YouTube link. So I guess youtube.com/consensus. I'm going to just put that in my browser to make sure it's correct. Okay. Yes, it is the right link. So anyways, that's where you'll find all the information where it'll be dropped. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for joining the community call. Have a good time at Linea Park and learning more about Dencun on Monday.